Say this, you know why I'm not hyped that David Haye is back fighting is because we don't know how seriously he's going to take it, and also we don't know how active he's going to be. David Haye has fought since this time in 2010. He's fought 2 fights, one against Vladimir Klitschko. We all know how that went. He pretty much he wasn't active during the fight. He wasn't engaging, and from what I got from the fight is that he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to get knocked out by Vladimir Klitschko. So he fought a very elusive and very defensive fight and then blamed it on his toe. After that, in a very hype and highly built up fight, he fought Der Chisora. He smacked Der Chisora with a bottle at the end of the Vitaly Klitschko. I forgot, was it at the end of Vitaly Klitschko Der Chisora press conference? Der Chisora went into the crowd, confronted David Haye. David Haye glasses him, smacks him up with a bottle. You know, long story short, Adam Booth at the point in time is leaking from the face, and basically it builds up this big global fight between David Haye and Der Chisora, to whereas they even went to have like the glass to separate the fighters and all that shit. But anyway, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. He's fighting a fighter who's ranked in the WBA in like the top 10. I believe he's ranked like number 10 or number 11 by the WBA. His name is Mori. So that goes to show that he's going the WBA route. You know, as far as, okay, if he beats a guy that's ranked by the WBA, you know, then he could possibly move into the WBA rankings. Now, the heavyweight landscape for a 35-year-old, and right now David Haye is 35 years old. He's a former cruiserweight champion, former heavyweight champion, but he hasn't really established himself as a heavyweight, you know, like when he did have his run at heavyweight. He beat that 7-foot fighter, Nikolai Volev, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But outside of that, he hasn't really had any big fights in the heavyweight division to make him be a threat in the heavyweight division. His biggest fight was against Vladimir Klitschko, and we all seen how that went. And then he had Der Chisora, but whatever you may think of Der Chisora, I pretty much knew David Haye had enough skills, you know, to be able to beat him with speed and things like that. So looking at what David Haye can do in this landscape with guys like Joseph Parker, you got Anthony Joshua, you know, I believe that a David Haye could possibly beat a Deontay Wilder. I know I'm always giving Deontay Wilder shit, I know. But I really believe David Haye can beat a Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder just hasn't done enough yet. But still, he's a heavyweight champion. You got Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko, Brian Jennings, Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz, Lucas Brown. You know, you got a lot of good heavyweights out there, especially a lot of young heavyweights. And I'm thinking, how can David Haye, you know, like get into that? There'll be big fights for him, but he's got to remain active. So let's say, for example, he's fighting this De Mori guy on January 16th. He's got to fight again in the summer. You know, if he can get 3 fights out of 2016, then he'll be good. He's got to fight again in 2016. He can't just fight Mori and then come back at the beginning of 2017 and try to fight again. You know, because he's got to establish that he's back. So when he fights this Mori guy, he's got to fight a guy who has a little bit of a name behind him. Let's say, for example, let me think of a name to throw out there. Call up a Robert Helenius. A Robert Helenius got a fight coming up, but he's got to fight a well-known, you know, like a heavyweight whose name is not a superstar but somewhat known. So therefore, he can start getting his name in the mix with a potential Anthony Joshua super fight. That would be a super fight. A potential Tyson Fury fight if Tyson Fury beats Vladimir Klitschko. I don't see him getting a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. Maybe he could position himself to get a fight with Deontay Wilder. Who knows? But the whole thing about David Haye is, as I said at the beginning of this video, I don't know if I should put my trust in him or not because he's not active enough. You know, remember, since this time in 2010, like I said, he's only fought 2 fights. Vladimir Klitschko and Der Chisora. And then if you count his last 3 fights, it's Audley Harrison, Vladimir Klitschko, Der Chisora, all since 2010. So you think about, well, what kind of resume is that? Even though you got Vladimir Klitschko in there, still the performance you put up, it's like you really haven't fought anybody. So I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. David Haye versus Mori. I'm going to be covering that fight, possibly trying to get someone to that fight. Please subscribe.